Hi, this is Dr. Rubenstein, and I am on Van Rensselaer Island. Now, what's interesting about this particular island is it's not an island anymore. It's now attached to the city of Rensselaer, but we're going to walk around what once was quite an island. So let me turn this around here, and that's Albany over there, and this was Van Rensselaer Island at one time. The island actually was over there more. I'll have plenty of maps and things of that nature, of course, that you'll be able to look at. Now, originally, the island was called the Atlantis Island by the patroon, which was the Van Rensselaers, and it was in honor of a Dutch geographer and founding director of the Dutch West Indian Company. Then it was called Kalebacker Island, which is, well, Dutch for mean fellow. There was a Mohican settlement here that traded with Fort Orange. Now, Fort Orange would have been where that expressway is over there. See, it says Historic Albany. Maybe you can't see that from here, but it says Historic Albany over there. That's where Fort Orange was. Now, understand that the Hudson River was much wider here, this being an island at one time, and it was filled in to make 787. So where you see all those cars and motorcycles and things like that over there, that at one time was part of the river. So that's the Albany skyline there. This was, as I say, the settlement for Mohican. 1800s, it was started to be called Boston Island or B&A Island, and that has to deal with the railroad. And this was all taken over by the railroad at one point. Became a passenger depot, shops, freight houses. And what happened, what caused it not to be an island so much anymore, was that it was dredged. Now, the island was cut in half at one point, and we're going to go over there where it was probably cut in half. But it was changed because of the dredging of the Hudson filled in around it. The shoreline was changed a great deal because of all the railroad going in, and it was finally bought by the railroad in 1903 by the New York Central and Hudson Railroad, and that was bought for $6,000 in 1903, and that'd be about $182,000 today. So this was railroad in here, and the island was actually cut in half up over this way. And I don't know how far we're going to get because there's a 6-foot tide here in this part of the Hudson River. People don't realize that the Hudson River is actually more of a fjord, and it has a tide. Now we're here at low tide at the moment. It'll go up 6 feet. Now past here tends to be more railroad property, but we will make a little foray over there to see what we can see. You can see how low the tide is here. New York State Preventive Discharge Point. And this, surprisingly enough, is where railroad property starts. And we're going to go over here and see what we can find. Now, as I say, this is all part of the railroad now. There's somebody walking behind me. I don't know who that is, but we'll find out. Helmet of some sort here. And this is the railroad property over here. And as I say, there's freight houses, turntable in here. There's quite a bit. Now the actual cut, I think, between the two islands, or cut the island in half, is over here. That's what I believe. Railroad over here. But I think this was where the original cut was between the, they cut the island in half. And yeah, you can still see part of it here. Something living back in here. Not quite sure what, but I'm not going to get involved with that. But this on the map, you'll see this is where the island was cut in half. This looks like it might have been a homeless place at one point. But on the map, you'll see where this is. And I'll circle it or something. And then over here, this continues back into the railroad. Yeah, old lock. So this has not been changed. Wow. Let me rephrase that. This has been changed a lot since the railroad took over. It was originally farmland. I'm not sure what's going on in here. Amtrak. Rail station is over there. This is all part of their yard. Salt, maybe. Something's certainly been bulldozed in through here. And we are going to go down through the rut. Now, as I say, this was all an island at one point. It was, the shoreline, of course, was changed a great deal. I don't know who put this in, but I appreciate it. Because I thought I'd be, this looks like it's going to be a road or something at some point. I thought I would have to walk along the shoreline and go that way. A lot of people out fishing. And it's hard to tell what was what. This actually looks like it was part of a railroad. Not what I'm walking on, but this one over here. Well, there's deer in here. Not surprised. quite a bit of movement here. Now you can see some remnants here of some sort of concrete building. Again, this was all types of industry in here. I shouldn't say industry. I should say all types of railroading in here. Taking on some big trees. And I think technically I am trespassing on railroad property. However, I have not seen a sign. No signs. But something did come through here with a big bulldozer. No doubt about that. This looks... I'll have to look up and see what that could have been here. But this looks like something that was on the map. Again, I will be showing plenty of maps of where we are and where we're walking. Not sure what that is. Now there used to be ferries in here and railroad access. And this, if I get across this big thing here, let's see if I can get down to the beach there somehow. This does not look very stable here, so I'm not going to try that. I don't know if I can get anywhere over here or not. Again, I thought I'd have to walk along the coast, along the shore to get in here, but I did not. It's hard to say because this was used by the railroad so much, and so much was done here, that now there's ruins there of something, some sort of concrete, something that was bulldozed. Now this is cleared out. Green flags. I'm not sure what green flags mean. Gas maybe? Hard to say. It does look like we can get down to the shore here. A lot of boats out fishing. Here's the railroad in the background. And like I said, this was called B&A Island for a while. And it was also called Boston Island. Those pipes that you see over there, pipes, and well, they're not pipes, but they're outlets for streams that came out of Albany and have since been covered over, little creeks and things. Now here, I see some pottery. So hard to say. Again, it's hard to say what exactly was here at any one point or time. Now the water comes all the way up into here. This gets covered over. Again, it's a 6-foot tide. I'm going to walk down the beach a little bit. I am going to shut this off and pick up when I get down somewhere else. Well, we were just over there. And as you can see, this was some sort of a dock or something at one point. I'm not quite sure what. But you can see it was built out here. Deer, there's deer in here. So we're going to walk down through here on this beach. Well, it is a beach of sorts. It's the shore of the Hudson River. And picking my way through here. I bring a cane. At one time I needed a cane because I had sciatica. And I still do to some extent. But now I use it as just a third leg as I walk along. A lot of docks, piers that were here at one point, no longer in use. I'll flip this back around here. But you can see it goes way out there. That's the Albany skyline. That's the Capitol building over in there. But you can see that this has been used, oh my goodness, shells. But this is the island, the Hudson side anyways. Hudson side, the Rensselaer side, and I suppose I should say the Hudson side of the island. The other part, the little stream that went through there, no longer there. And this would be difficult. The tide's coming in now, but it'll take a while for it to get in here. High tide is a little bit later. See, this is what I thought I was going to have to walk through the entire way. Now here is it yet another, some sort of a dock or something of here, something of that nature was here. There's a fine point here. I don't want to walk out in that mud. But let's face it, the water goes all the way up to where that sand stops. That's the railroad bridge. The trail over there that we were walking on originally is still there. train sheds over there and that sort of thing. A lot of people fishing today. Surprisingly, not a lot washed up here. You can see that's a pretty muddy flat right there, I'll tell you. Well, I wonder how muddy this really is. Not bad. Not as bad as I thought it might be. So we're going to give it a try on this sort of muddy sand. Ooh. Nope. That is muddy, 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 muddy. I'm going to go a different route. Because that was muddy. Almost like a quicksand. And I was not going to go out and try to do that. But up in here, looks a tad drier. Not much easier to get through either. Well, well, someone who's come through here before. I'm not sure who. Probably fishermen. And that's right up there where the rail comes across. Well, we successfully navigated that. Although I think we're coming up to a spot where it's going to be pretty near impossible to get across. A lot of fishermen out. A lot of fishermen. No, that's covered over there. I can't get through there. And this is where it comes out here, that trail we were on before, the Bulldoze Trail. There's the railroad bridge there. Oh hell, in for a pound. In for a penny, in for a pound. That is brush cut over and dropped over there. I can get through over there, no problem. See, this is all fenced in here, so I don't think I have to worry. It's if I go in there, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm not sure what they're putting in. Electricity, maybe. But over there is railroad property. And this is not, apparently. Oh, it's the sign say. This sign has something on it. And it says parking lot for handicapped people. This was probably a rail at one time that came through. I know over there it branches off and it's the Troy Industrial Line or something of that nature. Yeah, they're doing something here. I'm not sure what. That's the rail line going across. I guess you could get up on the rails, but I'm not going to do that. Lots of graffiti. Wow. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something. Well, the island ended up in this area. But again, it's all been, well, taken care of. That's the railroad up there. That's the line going over into Troy, up there on that hill. So what all this is going on here, I don't know. I don't know. And this gets wet down in here too. See this? Yeah, here too. $7.87 over there. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be walking back through here, just about where we came. So I believe I am going to probably turn this off while I'm walking back. At least I think that's what I'm going to do. So this is interesting, no doubt about it. I'm looking up, let me turn this around here. They took out the steps, so that people couldn't climb up there. So anyways, I'll pick back up if I see something interesting on the way. Well, we're getting back to where we walked into the train property. You can see some cars over there. The station's up that way more, but that is Amtrak yards. In any case, we're getting back up to where we walked onto here. There is a, what can I say? There's a path that we're coming up to here. And we're going to cross, remember I said earlier about the canal they put through across the island? Well, we're coming up to that spot where we were before. And, well, that's a good shot from here. Let me turn this around. That is the USS Slater. Can you see it over there between the two pieces of bridge? We'll do that one day also. But this is where that cut through here. This has been piled in now, of course. You couldn't even see where it went. Well, yeah, you can. This is the bank of it right here. And they leveled off the other side. But that's where we walked down in. You could see it in there. And then it came across through here, I would think. And come over here. This is a viewpoint that's Albany over there. And that is, God, I'm going to get this wrong, the Dunn Memorial Bridge. Connecting Rensselaer and Albany. Over there where you see all those exit ramps and things of that nature. Inland from that was where Fort Orange was. And then it's interesting that this end that's got more of the park on it was less developed. You'll see that on the maps. And this up in here, it's buildings, things of that nature. I don't know, we'll take a quick gander up here to see what we can see. No doubt part of this was part of the railroad also. This was a stone wall at one point. Concrete and stuff. Remnants of a building, maybe. This doesn't look, this looks like a jumble of stuff. But this is all part of the island. We're still on that. See deer trails in here. No doubt this is going to be developed into more of those. Interesting. So this end, as I looked on the map, I couldn't really find anything here. One map they're going to put a sports track in here or something. That will be interesting. I'm going to walk up here onto this spot up here. See what we can see. Certainly deer trails in here. See those? This is unique here. I am going to shut this off until I get to the top. Well, we are at the top of the hill. We walked up from down over there, and then I'm not sure what this is. This is the highest point on the island, there's no doubt about that. Looking this way, that's the Albany Rensselaer station over there. You can see it in the background. This is the Amtrak yards here. That's a passenger train. I don't know. Probably getting ready. Seems like they have a schedule going on in about 20 minutes or so. There's another one over there. We walked all the way down past all of that on the other end. So this is the highest point on the island. I think some of it could be natural. Some of it, not so much. And I'm not sure. You can see this pile of stuff here. And I don't know. That looks like it's just been piled here. Some of this looks natural, no doubt about it, but some of it looks like clean fill, I guess you would call it. And this goes down over here, but I don't know if that's man-made, because a lot of times they have to have a nature spot for waterfowl or whatever, and for storm drains to fill. Although they're right next to the river, so they probably aren't doing that. There's a great big chunks of concrete of something. But this, to me, a lot of this looks like rubble. Now this hill could be all rubble. I didn't really see anything sticking out as I walked over the top. Deer trail here I'm walking down. I'll have to check for ticks later. That's a jumble of concrete. But I don't know. See, it's out here too. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. In any case, you'll see this depression on one of the maps I'll show you. And it's sort of a wetlands spot. I think that's what this is for. Because it's not. I don't know. Now here's more rubble out here too. This is all rubble. That could be a hill of junk that they just bulldozed over. It's kind of stones. Well, it could all just be rubble from when they were clearing the land here for these, I guess they're condos. I guess that's what I'd call them, condos. But this end of the island wasn't that developed as such. I mean, in the 1880s map, it seems to me, if I remember correctly, it was no buildings. So it could have just been farmland. It could easily have just been farmland. We know it was rented by people from the Van Rensselaers. Just amazing how much land these people owned, the Van Rensselaers. They owned Rensselaer County, and they owned Albany County, Schenectady, most of them. So they were, and it was a patroonship, so it was almost feudal. People paid rent, but they had to pay in chickens and feed and wheat and barley or whatever they were growing or whatever their situation was. Growing trees up in here. That is a nice skyline. Let me get back on my path here. Done a little bit of bushwhacking. I see things that are finished stone. There's no doubt about it. It was finished stone at one point. And yet it's... See, here's bricks. That's stone. Maybe this is there. Maybe there were buildings here at a later date. Well, I'm looking. I think it's an 1880s Sanford fire map, and they have pretty much everything on them, as far as I know. Here's a little trail here. And again, see, we see this here. This looks like curbing. Maybe it was a road. I don't know. It's very odd. At least I feel it's very odd. Well, we're back out in civilization here. So I think this end of the island was more farm type land, I think. People use it a lot for walking their dog, I see. I haven't seen many people out here really. Of course, I've been anywhere but where people have been. So this is, the shoreline is nothing like it probably was before. And that's Route 90 you see there. And if you go to your right, you're going into Albany, and then eventually you'll go into past Schenectady all the way to Rochester, Buffalo. If you go the other way, to the left, you are going to be going to Boston. And on the other side of Albany, going west, the thruway is Route 90. But if you're going south on 87, that's the thruway also. If you're going north on 87, that's called the Northway. I see these giant blocks here. They might have had something to do with what was here before, although I'm not sure. See if we can get a better shot here. Well, I hope you're enjoying this little excursion. It's a beautiful day. It's in the 70s now, I think. I believe so. But we're coming up. Now, this isn't going to be the end of the island we're coming to, but it's the farthest I can go without crossing water. And so, but this is interesting. This water that's here was originally not, sorry about me moving the camera in and out on me. The water that was here wasn't originally across the island. It emptied into the Hudson on the other side, on the east side of the island. So we're coming up on what is known as Quackenbury Kale, or creek. And as I say, it didn't used to come across the island. It emptied into the Hudson on the other side. However, once they filled in that part of the Hudson, I don't know if they made a man-made exit or not, as it were. And I don't know how far the tide goes in. Well, it's 6 feet on the river level. I'm not quite sure how far it comes in here. But as I say, this is the Quackenbury Kill. And over there is the remnant of whatever they did on that side of the island. But this really wasn't, as I say, it didn't originally come across the island. So I hope you liked our look at Van Rensselaer Island, across from Albany, in the city of Rensselaer. Now connected to the city of Rensselaer. It's not really an island anymore, although that's what they keep calling it. So I hope you enjoyed the walk. I hope you enjoyed the interesting places we went. You got a feeling of what it was like, what the island's like, and some idea, I think, of what it was like beforehand, before they did everything to it. So with that, I just want to say, please, well, thank you for watching. That's what I want to say. I really appreciate you watching my channel, and I appreciate everybody who subscribes. It means a lot to me, and comments too. People comment, and I appreciate those also. But in any case, let me say, please subscribe, ring the bell, tell others, hit the like button, and have a good day. Albany, New York. This is Dr. Rugenstein. Thank you for watching. I really, truly appreciate it. Please help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Have a good day.